Are you ready to learn and experience the process of becoming a Medicare machine?
Good morning. How in the heck are you? Joshua Youngs from the Medicare Machine Factory, tuning in live from Austin, Texas today. I am giving our guests just a minute to get logged in, and we will get fired up. Let's see, check in with Tyler as well. Hope everyone's having a great morning. If you're not here in Texas, you are missing out. I'll tell you that much right now. Morning, Tyler. How are you today?
I am fantabulous. How are you this morning, Mr. Joshua?
I'm great. So yeah, we're giving it just a minute or two while Mr. Christian gets logged in. Hopefully, if not, we're going on without him, one way or the other, right?
There you
That's
go.
how we do it. So I'm pretty fired up. We've got the boot camp, the 90 days to a full pipeline boot camp in Austin today. Yeah, what do you got going on today?
Oh, all kinds of fun training and updating systems, working with some clients, training admin, training agents, go running and lock in some locations to go help more people at. So it'll be fun.
Well, you did not convince me that you're going to have fun. You sound terribly disturbed.
No, I'm good.
Yeah.
Struggled with the link this morning. That was my only issue.
Struggling with the links. You got to make sure your technology is dialed in, right?
Yes.
So yeah, we this week we're gonna chat it up with Christian, hopefully here soon. But I'm really excited. We got a lot of events coming up. Medicare Con's first. I can't believe it's like 2 weeks away. Something like that. So for those of you going to Medicare Con, we're going to have a booth. The Medicare Machine Factory will have a booth/table, and I really encourage you to stop by. We're going to be doing a special and exclusive training on the final day of Medicare Con in that evening. We're going to have a special training that you have to win a spot in. If you want to attend this special training, Misty, Bolt, and I are going to be doing. You definitely need to show up to Medicare Con, number one. Number two, you need to drop your name in the hat at our table. And yeah, I look forward to it. We're going to drop some heat on some folks to really exit Medicare Con with some really usable, tactical information. So that being said, I don't see Mr. Fisher yet. So we're forging on at this moment. Hans Solo or Hans Double, whatever you want to call it. I know some people are driving a couple hours to get to Austin today. Really appreciate that. But today I wanted to, I'm curious, Tyler. You and I, the last 2 years or so, I think we've attended as many, if not more, events than anybody I know. Why do you keep showing up to events, and what do you think are your top 2 or 3 tips to somebody showing up to an event? Now, let me get clear what an event is. An event is any gathering of people that you can plug into to grow. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a conference per se. It could be a training event. It could be a networking event. But tell me about what you think about events, Tyler.
The first thing that I'd have to say is make sure you show up with an open mind. I think that was one of the biggest things that I had working against me when I first started attending, was going in thinking I knew more than I did, not realizing that I didn't know what I didn't know. And being prepared for that. Is that having that open mind, willingness to learn, never knowing where you're going to pick something up from was the number one thing. And then being ready to engage. I found the more that I engage while I'm there, the more I actively participate or actively seek out individuals in, you know, bigger conference settings, the more I get from the event. And it can be that I've seen the same person 5-6 times and I pick up something new every single time, or it can be someone that I haven't seen before. And I'm trying to think instances where I've shown up not expecting to pick up what I did. I think that's something that a lot of people take for granted.
Well, I think you have to have a mission in mind if you're going to an event. So it depends on what your goal is. So just like anything else, if you set a target, set a goal, and you get your focus on it, then you can take action steps towards it. So for me, as an example, I think, you know, the two of us are good examples of different personality types that you go to events. So if you see what my activities when I go to an event, in a lot of ways, I waste a lot of the opportunity because, in my humble opinion, most of the value in attending an event is the networking that you get to do, the new relationships you get to create, and or other relationships you get to further develop and water and maintain and nurture so they can grow. The relationships in this business are key. It's a very lonely world when you're an insurance person. You're in the car a lot, alone a lot. You're sitting in your own office alone a lot. There's not, if you crave that team feeling, if you crave that kind of thing, you know, plugging into events could be a great way to supplement the need for team. But for me, attending events, I get for in the beginning, it was the experience of attending the event and just going. You know, almost became the goal is just to show up or whatever, and then the goal became sitting closer to the front of the room, and then, you know, the last several events I've attended to, I try to have a mission in mind, get better at talking to other people, get better at engaging, having better conversations. You know, you got to acknowledge who you are and what you're doing. But, you know, to get the true value out of an event, I think a lot of people have a misconception of going to an event like Medicare Con or SWAT or whatever, and you go into there with a not a realistic expectation of what should or could happen by attending. And so your goal should not be to, like, you're not going to learn an entire system in a sit. You know, sitting, even today, the people that come to the boot camp today, you're not going to learn everything you need to know in this 8-hour session. What you're going to have to do is try to extrapolate one or two main concepts. And the key is going to be, can you not only extrapolate the concepts, can you implement those concepts tomorrow? Like, can you go to an event today and then tomorrow immediately implement things? Or do you get caught up in the analysis paralysis? Do you get caught up in the planning stage? Do you get caught up in the visionary stage? So for me, one of the struggles I had for a long time was getting caught up in the visionary part of things, where I could see the vision, I could see it happening and all that, and then it comes time to put the boots to the ground, put the action steps in place, and you can fall. And I would fall off. So, you know, I think events, Tyler, for both of us have been a very good thing once we got past the glitz and the glam of just attending. But yeah, no, it blows my mind. So whether you're watching this now or later, you blow my mind. The market blows my mind. And as I say, the market dictates what they want, and you should give them what they want. But man, I don't understand it at all, Tyler. I number one, I enjoy more doing a face-to-face boot camp than a Zoom training. Number two, it is proven in several different ways that you pay attention more and you get more out of a face-to-face seminar, training, boot camp event. But I could put on and I can make it as easy as possible for somebody to attend a face-to-face boot camp. But we've done over the last year almost now, or 6-8 months, I've done a bunch of face-to-face boot camps, and I've done a bunch of virtual boot camps now. Take a wild guess, Tyler, at which the most popular attended event, boot camp or virtual?
The one that gets more popular attended,
Yeah,
the virtual.
it's crazy to me. And the ironic part is, I could charge more for virtual and get more attendance, and I charge like nothing for face to face, and people won't attend. It just blows my mind. Don't y'all understand that showing up is half the battle? You should condition yourself to showing up. And I hate to tell you this, but showing up on a Zoom is not the same as showing up in the room. I don't care what anybody ever says. You'll never replace the human element of relationships. You'll never replace that part of it. You'll never replace and simulate on a Zoom. The Zoom allows somebody to not pay attention. The Zoom allows somebody to be distracted. The Zoom allows somebody to surf the web while they're on it. It looks like you're paying attention, right? And 3/4 of people don't even turn on their camera anyway. So why don't
Yeah,
you just go?
I think that's one of the biggest pieces is the accountability factor,
Mhm.
where that engagement comes into play. Because unless you really are in a position where you're dialed in and you're focused and paying attention, going to the virtual,
Right.
I mean, you get sidetracked. Oh, I got to throw in laundry. I got to answer a phone. Someone just walked into my office, whatever the case is. And it also takes out that emotional connection that sometimes you'll pick up in there with different individuals. I've had that happen at various conferences where I've met someone in the hallway, and then when they got up
Mhm.
to speak, I was more attentive just because of that connection that I had with them offset, and I got more out of it.
Yeah. No. The ability for someone to show up, plug in, those are the habits that you're setting. How you practice is how you play, I believe, is the cliche. Um, and yeah, so if you're gonna, I don't know. I'm not knocking it. And look, if you look at the bottom line, Tyler, analyze it. Me flying somewhere, having to get a hotel and a rental car and or rent a room and do all the things to do an in-person event. Do you think it's more cost efficient to do that, or do you think it's more cost efficient just to do a Zoom and sit in my office? It blows my mind, but I guess the market has resoundingly spoken. I guess we're going to be the Medicare Machine Factory is going to be doing a lot more Zoom events, and I'll give the value, but like I say it blows my mind. So I really encourage you. There's only going to be a handful more coming up. We got Charlotte, we got Memphis, we got Orlando coming up. But those might be your last attempts at attending a live boot camp, because I'm not going to keep flying around the country. If people don't want to show up, so. But yeah, I thought it was an interesting dynamic, and I challenge everyone who watches this or listens to this. What do you think it is, and do you find yourself more apt to attend a Zoom or more apt to be in the room? I think you should reconsider and do both. I think the answer should be both, and you should do. Please do an in-person boot
In
camp for
Phoenix,
Phoenix. Okay, well, I will strongly consider that. If you can help me, I need basically I need at least 10 people to make one economically work, to keep the price at $279 a person. Because I got to get the lunch, I got to get the room, I've got to travel, I've got all those things. People think I'm doing this to make a bunch of money. That's not the purpose of this. The purpose of this is have a great reach, have an impact on people that aren't necessarily in my downline. If you haven't heard, we're not looking. We're looking for new, really. I don't really. If you already have a license, but you've been doing P&C or you've been doing life or something, we'll talk. If you haven't done any Medicare, don't have any contracts, but we're not looking for rolling a pony from one pasture to our pasture. We're looking to, from scratch, create Medicare machines from the ground up, taking Tyler Tingu off the loading dock truck for King Supers or whoever the hell you were working for at the time, and putting you in a position that 12 years later, you wouldn't even recognize that guy, right? And so that's what this business is all about. It's an opportunity to change lives. It's an opportunity to have a residual impact on the customer, a residual impact on the industry, and a residual impact on your family and your financial destiny. I don't know very many other industries that do that, but heck yeah, I saw that, Angela. The Memphis one's going to be off the chains too, because I don't know if I talked or tricked or how it worked out, but I got Justin Brock to come do that one with me. So that one's going to be a killer event. And again, that's what I'm trying to do with these regional boot camps. So the one today, Tony Merwin's going to drop some heat. Joe Campert's going to drop some heat. We have no affiliation together, and that's really what I want to try to do is create a wave of collaboration in the industry and in our. I want to see people working together for no other reason alone other than to have an impact and pay it forward to the industry that's changed their lives. And so I'm going to try to plug into in each area some of the top people with different perspectives to add more than just the Medicare Machine Factory stuff and give you different perspectives and different information and training. And the cool part is you could literally attend each one of these boot camps and you're going to get a different experience each time. It's there is no script. That this is not something where it's a cookie cutter. Okay, repeat. If you see me out on stages or doing other things, the concept might be the same, but the training is going to be different every time. So, and I'm really excited. I don't know if I told you, I got probably not, because I got the call from the patent trademark attorney yesterday, and we got the full green light now to start using. If you haven't done that, so those of you watching, how do you get something trademarked, patented, that kind of thing? Number one, it costs money because you got to get a lawyer involved. Number two, it takes time. So be smart about it. If you come up with a really good idea or concept, try not to tell people about it until you tell your trademark attorney about it. Let them run with it, do some research, because you got to make sure, in the sector that you're doing things and work, you got to prove that it's your mark and that you're using it effectively. So again, if you have questions about that process, let me know. But we got to prove both the Medicare Machine Factory is going to be trademarked, as well as the new fun concept that's really going to be the cornerstone of all the training moving forward for the most part, which is the obligation of reciprocation, the reciprocation obligation. So that's the Memphis training is going to be the first reciprocation obligation boot camp. And the one today, the one in Orlando, and the one in Charlotte are all the 90 days to a full pipeline. So there's a couple of different topics. Attend a boot camp near you. I try not to make it too commercially, but we are doing these things for a big reason, which is to help you change the trajectory of your career. So, Tyler, I would be curious to hear from you. Maybe one or two tips that you would give an agent who is plateaued, who is struggling, who is, let's see, no problemo. Christian's running a little bit late this morning, so he'll jump on shortly, I guess. We'll see. I told him no problem. I'm usually that guy, so I'm glad it's not me this time. It's running 20 minutes, 40 minutes later, whatever. That's the life of the top 1%, I think. But yeah, Tyler, let's say, because I think when I look back at your journey through insurance and through Medicare, really, you've had a few areas maybe where you hit walls or plateaus or other pitfalls, quicksand or whatever. If you think back to the cartoons and all the mishaps that you can have on the Oregon Trail and all that, but maybe give a little perspective, because it's not always sunshiny on your journey in this business. But yeah, maybe give a couple of tips to somebody.
Yeah, no, I almost had a dysentery a couple times on that trail. So, and for all you young kids, you'll probably totally miss that whole reference. No, I think what a lot of people feel like, they get stuck in a spot and they're afraid to reach out, or they feel like it's something that they're incapable of doing. I mean, I'm technologically challenged to no extent, or was. I mean, I'm getting a lot better about it. And that was one of my biggest shortcomings, trying to overcome that, getting stuck in those things as the market started moving forward. I've seen a lot of the old dogs, so to speak, where they fell into that and dwindled away, so just because they weren't willing to adapt. So I think that's one of the biggest pieces there, is being adaptive to the market and what's going on. Also, making sure that you're asking for help when you need it. I mean, I am an atypical alpha guy who wants to never admit that I can't do something and go headlong into something. And I've beaten my head against the same brick wall for 8 hours just because I wasn't willing to ask for where the doorknob was to go around to the other side of the building. And I think people will fall into that trap, or they'll feel like they get comfortable.
But why do you think people don't ask questions, though? What do you think it is about it?
I think there's an embarrassment for a lot of people where they feel like they should know something.
Or an ego.
Yeah, an ego. That's a huge one.
Yeah, you either think too highly of yourself or you don't think enough of yourself. It's one of those, it's what I call Goldilocks. Very few of us in life are ever content with the way we are. We're either, which is good because that's how we grow and we motivate ourselves to get developed. But at some level, sometimes you got to give yourself a break, is what I would say. But yeah.
I think you and I both have been way too critical of ourselves our whole life. And I think that's part of what's led to our success.
Well, yeah. If you're a perfectionist, if you will, or whatever, then that's the end goal and target. And if you're persistently seeking a target, you're eventually going to get better at that, right? And so, a part of the process is really just becoming a maturity. To me, I've always struggled with what the hell does that even mean, maturity. But it depends what you're talking about. Maturity for a plant is bearing fruit. Maturity for a human could be a lot of different things. And for me, when I simplify maturity down to the lowest common denominator, the words that come to mind is acceptance of oneself. So once you get past the insecurities of what other people think, and you realize that in reality people don't think about you, and I can't remember who I watched, but I've watched several podcasts and other content in the last couple of months that have talked about the insecurities are really silly because if you think about it, go through dead people that and really in reality, how often are you thinking about it? Really in reality, how often once you die, how often are people going to think about you? How often are people going to talk about you? So it doesn't matter. What other people think of you doesn't matter. And in reality, most of us miscalculated or whatever the reason, we make those decisions on what we do based on what others think. But in reality, Tyler, what's your opinion? What do people think about the most?
Themselves, always.
Well, yeah,
I mean, good and bad. I mean, I'll give a perfect example. Last year, I chipped I chipped a tooth, which is super ironic for me in my situation. If anyone's not aware, I had the embarrassment that I had to admit I had dentures at the age of 30. So I chipped a tooth in my denture last year, right before SWAT. I'm all embarrassed about it. I guarantee not one person probably noticed that other than maybe you, who we got to spend a little more time together, afterwards with the team and stuff, doing stuff. You probably would have noticed it, but I guarantee I thought way more about that than anyone else would have ever noticed it or thought about it. And I probably, if they did, they wouldn't have been like, "Oh, how embarrassing, you look so goofy." They probably been like, "Oh my gosh, what happened? Are you okay?" And I'm being super critical of myself on something so mundane and pointless that I was totally embarrassed about it and I was afraid to smile for the first half of the dang event.
Well, I agree. I would add that in a lot of ways, I believe people think about whatever they see. So whatever they see at the time is what they're thinking about most of the time, unless you're caught in a daydream or something like that. But in general, whatever you're looking at, unless you're in control of your thoughts, whatever you see is what you're thinking about. And so that's why it's really important, in my opinion. Again, these are all my opinions. I'm very opinionated, if you didn't catch that. But in my opinion, you got to control what goes into your head. Control what you watch, control what you consume, control the content, control who talks to you, you need to control the information in, because a lot of us, our brains listen to that information that we allow to be programmed in. So That's why, for me, I've learned that showing up for a boot camp or a training, and like I said, I can't describe enough. Like if the stuff that we're doing with Medicare Machine Factory, this is not rah rah. This is not fire you up. This is not cheer you on. This is like hardcore tactical workshop boot camp, like a boot camp. A boot camp's designed to break down your current state down to the ground level and then rebuild it back up with a stronger, more sturdy, hurricane-proof version of you. And that's what you want to do with these things. You don't just want to show up for the showing up. You don't want to just show up for the glamour and the glitz of saying I was there, because I've done that. I've done the celebrity appearance, if you will, effect, where I'm just showing up to try to meet people or be around people or other things. Which again, networking is a huge part of showing up to places. And the relationships you build are very powerful. So the networking that you can do can change the trajectory of things as much as anything else can. But it's the continual control of yourself, continual control of what information is going into your head, you're continually working on and controlling what information is going out of your mouth as well. So I think those are the three things that I would say is the focus of the day, if you will, is find a way, find a mentor, find someone to chase, find an opportunity to change yourself every day. And it's an incremental thing. It's your ability to be honest with yourself that's going to create the opportunity for you to get to the top 1% of whatever you're doing. The thing about top 1% or even top 10%, like when I used to think about free throw shooters in basketball, 90% is like unheard of levels of efficiency. But in reality, I don't think most people understand the persistency and the consistency you have to achieve even 90%. Like over the scale of large amounts of time, like getting 9 out of 10, if you're only doing 10, is one thing, but getting 90,000 out of 100,000 and having the persistency and consistency over that long stretch of time is exponentially more difficult than getting 9 out of 10 one time. But getting 9 out of 10 every time.
If we went out and play basketball, you'd run all over the court on me. But there's games where I've sat there and I've hit 9 out of 10 free throws.
Sure.
But it's been a game, not something like where if we were on the court playing, the amount of time, I'm talking when we were younger, the amount of time, effort, and energy that you put into honing your skills and learning how to develop that compared to what I did on that side, you were exponentially better. I mean, and that's where I don't, with sports, you'll look at somebody who says, oh yeah, look at these stats. That's why they have to have that disclaimer on there. It's like played at least in 10 games or performed for at least 2 years. You can't be, oh yeah, he has the best hitting average ever. He's at a 1,000 batting average. Well, he only went up to bat one time and hit the ball. Like, that could have just been luck.
Yeah, you got to put together your own Hall of Fame career in whatever industry that you're in, wherever you're at. And again, just remember, and I've had this conversation several times this week, that everything happens in stages and levels. And so you can't get to the 5th floor without walking up the stairs to the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th first. So, there is no elevator in life typically. There is no elevator to speed up the process of growing corn. There's no elevator in speeding up the process of how quickly a baby develops in the womb. There's certain things you can't speed up the process. And growing and developing as a human being in your industry is one of those things. Can you improve the efficiency? Can you improve the results? Can you do things like fertilize the soil and get more sunshine or less sunshine or the right amount of water, or making sure that the water has the right pH? Or Can you really dial into those details? Yeah, you can. But the rubber meeting the road comes down to the ability to make incremental. This is called the top 1% podcast. The way you get there is incremental 1% improvements that over time compound the effect. And over time, it doesn't take a huge degree of separation between you and your competition or you and the market or whatever industry that you're in. You just got to do things a couple of percent points better in key areas of likability, trust building. You have to have a good sound message. Core values help a lot. A core, you know, I can't tell you how many people I walk up to who own a business, and I say, "Okay, what are your business's core values?" They can't tell me anything. Make money. I don't know what my core value is. But so the core values are the lighthouse, are the beacon, are the target that you're pointing at to make sure that you stay on task, right? Why is goal setting important? Because it keeps the destination in mind. I tell people all the time, the Google Map is one of the most powerful tools that we have. But if you don't have the address, if you don't have the destination, if you don't have where you're going to put into the powerful tool, it doesn't do anything at all. It doesn't help you anything. At best, it might tell you where you're at on the map, right? But you know, these powerful tools that we have at our disposal, many people waste the opportunity to grow. And I forget, Tyler, when you're growing in anything, does that happen inside or outside the comfort zone? I forget.
Oh, let me think. That's a difficult. I'm pretty sure that that's going to happen outside of your comfort zone.
Well, yeah.
I mean, if you're just doing the same thing all the time, you're never going to learn anything new. I mean, take my kids. Like you start out with them playing tic-tac-toe, and then develop into different games to teach them strategy and concept. You know, you work up to the all-powerful Monopoly and see if you can actually make it to the end of a game. You know, roll the dice in Yahtzee to try and give tactic and strategy on that. And now, you know, the older ones, it's kind of cool. I'm a bit of a nerd on that, but Magic, the Gathering, card game, like you build a deck. It's like, you know, witches and warlocks version of Pokemon cards, but you know, it's teaching them like how Bastion to read, those kinds of things. And we wouldn't have got there if we didn't start with tic tac toe. And if I hadn't kicked his butt 2 or 3 times going into it, he would have thought he was just awesome.
Yeah.
And that's what
Again, the games that we play, in most things, games that we play are what we do to train ourselves, right? So, yeah, make it fun. You should make it fun. But you know, I want to switch gears, Tyler, because we've done a lot of like philosophical stuff so far. But for those of us that have hung in there for 30 minutes, I want to give some tactical information today that you can use tomorrow. So if you haven't been tuning in, one thing that's been very, 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 very productive so far this spring is flower seeds. And so I would encourage you. I mean, we're taking it one step further. I would really encourage you. So your tip of the day is go down to the store, Walmart, Walgreens, King Supers, Target, Hebs, whatever you got in your area. Go down there, Piggly Wiggly. I don't care what it is. Go down there, get a package or 2 of flower seeds. I don't care what budget you're on. You can afford $1 or 2 worth of flower seeds, and then plant those flower seeds into whatever you got to do. So if you've never germinated seeds before, the easiest thing to do to germinate a seed, and what I mean by germinate a seed is you need to get to sprout some roots, which makes it a higher chance of success when you put it in the dirt for it to live. Okay, so what you want to do is you get a paper towel or 2. You're going to lay the seeds in the paper towel. You're going to roll the paper towel up and fold it where the seeds can't fall out. Then you're going to wet that towel, and you're going to keep the towel damp, not wet. Okay, damp, not wet, for about a week or 2. Okay, in the next week or 2, if you're able to keep that towel damp, not wet, and seeds in there, the seeds will sprout. Okay, once the seeds sprout, then you can plant them. Plant them if you need to. Go down and get the little tiny Dixie cups for your bathroom. and start out with those. Okay. Germinate the seeds, get them to about an inch tall, then transplant them into a red solo cup. What you want to do then is, I order them from Vistaprint. Wherever you get them, you want to get sticker business cards. Okay. You put the sticker business card on the solo cup. Okay, now you have a sprouted seedling solo cup business card billboard. And you're going to take those to the local, whatever you're trying to get into, whether it's door knocking, whether it's business to business, whether you're trying to get into the local doctor's office, it's wherever you're trying to go. You want to take this flower seedling to them as a gift for happy spring. I just wanted to drop in and spread some smiles. Okay. What you'll have is somebody that can take care of that. And it's basically a silent living billboard that just sits there on their porch. And we've got Christian on us. So I'm going to bring him in while I do this. But yeah, the seedling thing, I can't tell you, because I was just handing out flower seeds. And what was happening is, like, I'm sure all three of us on this call have the budget that if we needed or wanted to, Christian, I would imagine that you could go to Amazon.com right now and order $500 worth of flower seeds if you needed to. Not every agent can spend that, right? So welcome to the show, Christian. Thank you for joining us. We were talking about, I'm trying to give out some tactical information on every show. And so one thing I found very effective recently was I gave out a whole packet of flower seeds to everybody, my clients, anybody new, flower seeds. But I've had some agents say, well, I can't afford $500 or $1,000 worth of flower seeds to get enough flower seeds to do what I'm trying to do. They say, well, then get one pack of flower seeds that has 60 flowers in it, germinate the seeds, and now you've got 60 flowers to go hand out instead of the flower seeds. But yeah, what are your thoughts? Do you have any tips that you have that really help you get into a referral partnership? That's really what I use them for right now this time of year. But yeah, welcome to the show.
Yeah. Well, I love that. I love that idea, Josh. It's really smart. No, I don't think there's anyone else doing that. So it's thinking outside the box. I think for me, guys, when it comes to referral partners, I think the key is always to stand out, right? Because they get approached by various people. So you have to do what you can do to be creative and to stand out. One thing that really worked for me, and I'm a big advocate for this, I think every single person that is going to be an insurance agent of any kind, and I don't care what kind of insurance agent you're going to be, whether it's Medicare, whether it's PNC, whatever, you guys should be writing books and self-publishing them on Amazon. And that is your key into referral partners, attention spans, if you will, right? Like that's something that really helped me early on. So the first book I ever published was a book for Medicare beneficiaries on Amazon. It's still up today, maybe a little outdated, but it's called Medicare Guidance, Picking the Plan for You. Last I checked, we'd sold about 3,000 copies of the book on Amazon. And what we did was we started with financial planners. And we looked in about a 25, 30 mile radius from our office, we print out a letter. And I call these pre-approach letters. We mail a copy of this letter with a book inside. The reason why this is powerful is hardly anybody that's your competitor is going to be approaching not only your clients, but also referral partners. And they're going to be like, look, I actually wrote a book on the topic that I'm trying to educate you on. And they don't have to read it ever. They don't ever have to open it up. The book has accomplished its purpose because in their mind, you're branded as an authority on the subject. So that's something that always worked really well for us. It's you can self-publish a book on Amazon for free, and it could be a blank book. It could be a coloring book. If they don't ever open it up, they don't need to know. If the cover has your name on it and it's Medicare blah 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 or whatever that it is that you're selling, it does its job. It doesn't have to be the most well-written. You don't want it to be a load of crap either if you can help it, but just having that book. And so that's something that we did, when we would approach referral partners, we'd come in with some books. And so most of our referral partners these days, we'll get emails from them and say, hey, we're low on books. and we'll hop on Amazon. You can order author copies for like $2 a copy, and we'll have them shipped right to their office.
Yeah, no, I think that's a phenomenal idea. I think most people are going to say, well, Christian, that sounds awesome. The publishing part sounds like the easy part. How do I write a book? But so I think if you get creative and keep it simple, like for me, as you're saying, I was like, what the hell would I write a book on if I needed to in a pinch? Like immediately, for some reason, I thought, well, I would keep it simple. So for me, I would almost write like a children's book for Medicare, and I would involve my children. So next thing you know, you'd have Paige holding up a sign that says Part A, and then I'd say Part A told by a 5-year-old, and I'd let Paige explain Part A. Something creative and cute like that. It doesn't have to. You don't have to be a scholar to write a book. You just have to be confident enough to get through the process, because you're gonna feel like you suck. You're gonna feel as you're writing it like no one's gonna read this. I know you've done it, Christian, and I think that's the part I found most difficult in writing a book is getting through my own challenges in my head of like being my own worst editor and worst critic. But
totally, and I think it's a great point, and it's a very valid concern that I've heard from agents. Like, I think you hit it right on the head. It doesn't have to be this work of art book, right? Like, it doesn't have to be anything spectacular. Like my first book was probably 50-60 pages. It wasn't like this big long book, and the font was huge. So people could read through it probably in an hour, right? Like the entire thing, an hour and a half, something like that. And so I've always said about myself, right? Like, I don't think I'm this super sophisticated, super advanced writer. I really don't think that I am. I think that I'm willing to put my thoughts on something on paper, even if it's not super articulate, even if it's not the greatest way to word it. I've gotten better as time gone on now. I've published 5 books now. But when I first started, it was mainly just about writing it. And then you guys all know somebody that's a good reader, good writer, potentially someone that did well in school. Everybody does in their life. It could be your mom, it could be your sister, it could be a friend, and have that person read it over and make some edits, right? And like, they'll do it for free if it's somebody that is close to you. For me, that person was my mom. So my mom first started editing my books, and then my assistant, actually, who I hired, and this was just luck of the draw, before she worked for me, she worked for an author, like an actual New York Times best-selling author, as an editor. So she started editing all my books, and she cleaned a lot of them up. Like, when she came in, she went through some of our books after she'd been here a couple months, and she's like, this is horrible. She's like, how many copies of this book have you sold? I'm like, I don't know, like 900. And she's like, oh my God, there's 900 books out there with this mistake and that mistake and this mistake. Didn't matter though. It didn't hinder. One of my favorite quotes of all time, because I got that idea originally from Grant Cardone early in the day. Grant Cardone used to always say, people would call up his offices in his first couple of books, and they'd be like, there's spelling mistakes. There's spelling mistakes on page 6, on page 45, on this and that. And Grant Cardone would go, it's not a best written, it's a bestseller, bitch. And that always really stuck with me, because I was like, like, you don't have to have some like AP English background to write a book.
No, and honestly, you're going to get more engagement if you make mistakes anyway. I would almost, on the cover, honestly, if you're writing a book, I literally would misspell something on purpose on the cover, because people are they can't help themselves but stop and say something. And in reality, something going viral oftentimes is all about the view. It has nothing to do with the content, nothing to do with the substance. And so you got to learn those little hacks and things. But making a mistake is an easy way to get people to point it out and get attention to something. So if you're looking to make attention, make a post today where you misspell or use the wrong kind of there, or the wrong to, or the wrong whatever. You're going to trigger people, and that's the key, is to get enough people triggered. No, I'm good, thank you. Yeah, the ability to use triggering for the right things, I think, is really key. So yeah, I want to switch gears real quick because we're running out of time here. I'm running a boot camp in 15 minutes, and so, but I'm excited. What I want to talk about a little bit is, are you calling it the 7-figure agent summit, 6-figure agent summit? What is it this year?
So it's still the 6-figure Medicare Agent Summit. Reason
Okay.
being is when we changed the Facebook group name, we had all the swag printed already. We had everything already ready for the 6-figure Medicare Agent Summit. So it's still the 6-figure Medicare Agent Summit. Next year, we'll probably change the name to match the rest of the brand.
So you got to, that means you got one more chance to get to 6 before you got to chase Christian to 7, you see? So you should show up. So you've got a killer lineup. Some of the top names in the industry that you've all heard of and or from probably before. So, but why would, yeah, I can tell you why would I'm going to bring the heat, but why would somebody who had, let's say they're sitting there and they go, well, I've already been to Medicare Con, I've already been to 8%, I've already been to Medicarians, I've already been to all these others, and I've seen all these people. Why should I show up again, and why is this going to be different?
Yeah, it's a great question, because there's certainly similarities with a lot of those events that you mentioned, and I think they're all really great events, and they bring things to the table that are unique to them. And I think our event brings things to the table that's unique to us. And what that is to me is I feel like first of all, I'm biased. So take what I have to say on this part
Yeah,
with a
it's an
grain of
opinion.
salt.
I get you.
But I think our speaking lineup from start to finish is the best you're going to find in terms of people that are actually doing it, and whatever tickles your fancy. If it's somebody that is a one-man army top producer that's, written an obscene amount of business, we have those kinds of individuals. We have people that have built FMOs. We have people that have scaled call centers. We have people that have sold businesses. We have people that run marketing companies. Whatever tickles your fancy, I think the diversity is absolutely there, and every single person is a rock solid rock star. That's going to be taking the stage, yourself included, of course. We wanted people like Josh on the stage, but for 2 days. I didn't want there to be any. I didn't want there to be any low points or slow points. I wanted every single speaker to be able to bring the value. And my approach when we did the event for the first year last year was I wanted it to be, who would I pay to see? If there was a lineup of speakers, who would I pay money out of my pocket to go see? And that's kind of how I built the speaker lineup. Same goes for this year. I also think Salt Lake City in June, super underrated. I think when people think about Utah, they think about 3 things, the 3 M's: mountains, Mormons, and there's a third M, I can't remember it, but it's early. But they think mountains, Mormons, they think multiple wives. That's what it is, multiple wives. Mountains, Mormons, multiple wives. But there, Salt Lake City is really more of an actual city. It's when people think about like the things they see on TV, like the wives, the polygamy, all that stuff, that happens like in the boonies. You don't really see that happen here.
Kind of like the banjo playing down in Alabama.
Yeah. Like I think people have this perception of Utah, and then they come here, they're like, oh, this is an actual city, but it's beautiful this time of year. It's 85 degrees in June. The weather's perfect. The mountains are right there. I was talking to somebody yesterday, and I told them it's literally like I took you out of your life and I dropped you into a postcard. So the location is fantastic. We're really excited about that. I think we have so many great activities going on. So people that have the higher end ticket on what we're offering, they're able to come Thursday, the day before, and have a private Q&A at my office about our operation, and we'll share anything about what we do. So we just got all kinds of activities. I think the value is really where we tip our hat. I think the value proposition is as much, or if not more significant than any other event that someone can go to this year.
Nice. I agree. And my favorite thing to do is when I'm on a stage or when I'm doing a presentation or something, I'm there to train people. So if you're coming to the Six Figure Agent Summit, which I really encourage you to, I'm really going to bring something that you can use and take it. If you're just to apply it to your business and start doing it, you're going to have to get good at it, right? I can't just tell you, yeah, the double crossover spin move is a great move in basketball, and then you just jump on the court and do it. You've got to practice the crossover first, then you got to practice the spin move first, second, and then you got to practice them together, and you do it with live action. Now you need a defender, and so just remember, you got to go through a process, but it starts with an idea, and then the idea turns into action, the action turns into habit, and the habit over time creates a behavior, and the behavior becomes the new habit. The new habit becomes a skill, and over time the skill gets better and better and better, and all of a sudden you're doing something that other people think is, what the heck is you doing? And it's something that you do second nature. But you remember all of the time and the energy and the effort and the concerted, like, your mind has to be, again, you have to have a goal in mind, a destination. You have to put the address in the Google Maps, or you don't go anywhere. You don't get any directions. You don't have a clear path to victory unless you know where the destination is. And so, I'm gonna leave it open. Tyler, do you have anything you want to add? I'm gonna shut it down just a couple minutes early this week because I've got to get over to the office in Austin here and launch this boot camp that we're doing today. But let's. I know Christian had some issues getting to the office this morning. But what I'd love to do is rebook it so that we can do another session before Six Figure Agent Summit. Is what I want to do is kind of break down some things maybe in preparation. Otherwise, thanks again for joining. Thanks for tuning in, those that are on. Whether it's one, as long as there's one eyeball that I see in the little screen, top of the screen, then it makes everything okay. And in reality, what I know about podcasts is most of the views come after the dang thing's live anyway. So watch this later. You go back again. If you're not already on your way to Home Depot or somewhere to buy flower seeds, I don't know what you're waiting for. Order them on Amazon. Although be careful, because I on Amazon I ordered this one set, which was exactly what I thought it was going to be, was 100 packs of flower seeds. The next time I thought I was ordering the same thing. They literally sent me. They all came in one package. It was supposed to be 25 bags of seeds, and inside them was like little tiny cocaine bags with flower seeds with a little handwritten sticker on there that said, "I was like, I'm not sending these to clients. I'm not sending the little quarter baggies to clients with flower seeds in them." So just be careful what you buy. Thanks for joining the Top 1% podcast. I'm really excited about stuff that's coming up. I'm really excited to partner and do things with people like Christian. Tyler, as always, I feel like you're over there reading the comics while you just listen to me talk half the time. So you got to tell me to shut up once in a while so you can get a word in.
All right, shut up. Because I want
there
to touch on two things before we go real fast. One, Christian, you have a YouTube channel that's got a ton of great content on there. So, if anybody has questions, wants to learn some of those things of where that is, definitely would encourage you to check out his YouTube channel and, make it your own, but don't do trademark infringement. But yeah, you have a great YouTube channel. So if anyone wants to check that out for information, that's fantastic. And then the other thing is details for the Six Figure Summit. What are the days and times on that? But
yes. And thanks for that, Tyler. So the dates for the event are June 9th and 10th, and here in Salt Lake City, at the Sheraton Hotel. So if you guys want to see like the full lineup of speakers, the sponsors, just like a rough draft of the schedule, we have all of that posted right now at sixfiguremedicareagentsummit.com. So if you just go to Google and you go to sixfiguremedicareagentsummit.com, you'll be able to see a whole itinerary and speaker list and just a bunch of information about the event.
And if anybody wants to get tickets or anything, they can do it right there, right?
Yes. So you can get tickets there. We have links to the booked hotel rooms there, which there's not a ton left. And yeah, I mean, just anything you'd need will be on that website.
Pitch a tent if you have to. We'll see you in Salt Lake. I'll tell you that right now.
It'll be nice and warm. It'll be nice and warm, you guys.
Awesome. Thank you, Kristen. Thank you, Tyler. Hope you guys have a great day, and I will talk to you both soon.
Likewise,
guys.
thanks, guys.